would know that more than 70% of people, they have been publicly embarrassed. Confess it. Minimum once throughout their lifetime. Humiliation not only damages emotionally, but can also quite undermine your confidence and self-esteem. Some research even reveal it's among the primary causes of people's difficulty is anxiety in social settings. When we find ourselves in this predicament, most of us freeze or worse, lash out, and later regretful. But what if I told you? There are ways you can answer that can entirely affect the game. A reaction that closes off the humiliation, leaves your dignity intact, and even gets you respect. Shame is something we've all experienced at some point in our life, and let's face it, it's never a good sensation, whether it's someone making a critical remark on your effort, a so-called pal, sharing a private joke at your expense, or even strangers trolling you online. These situations can shake us to the core, and let's be honest, no one teaches us how to handle these circumstances properly. We're either advised to brush it off or stand up for yourself. So what does that even mean? Shrugging it off often makes you feel small, and standing up for oneself, it's easy to lose control and end up increasing the predicament. Therefore, this is where the challenge starts. How do you shut down humiliation in a way that's calm, collected, and incredibly effective? That's exactly what we're going to figure out today in this video. We're digging into some powerful tips and psychological strategies influenced by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. These tactics won't just help you navigate embarrassing circumstances calmly, they'll also help you obtain respect from individuals around you. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll feel ready to handle anything life throws you before we begin. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more awesome videos like this. Let's begin. The psychology of humiliation. Why do people humiliate others? It's a question we've all asked oneself after being on the receiving end of a stinging mark or a cutting appearance on the surface. It may feel like the attack is all about you, your actions, your personality, your perceived shortcomings. But the truth is that shame, more often than not, is less about you and more about the individual inflicting it. At its foundation, humiliation is a power play. It's a method some employ to assert supremacy in social settings or to feel superior in the moment. The think about is the grouchy coworker who calls you out in a meeting, the family member who cracks a joke at your expense, the stranger online who lobs an unprovoked insult your way. Their activities often stem from a wish to position themselves as more competent, smart, or worthy in the eyes of others. You'll find that this behavior rarely comes from a place of true strength. Instead, it's commonly rooted in insecurity. Persons who degrade others are frequently coping with their own worries, doubts, and inadequacies. Their insults serve as a mask, a strategy to divert attention from their vulnerabilities by flashing an uncomfortable spotlight on someone else. When they make you feel small, they momentarily persuade themselves they are larger. Think about this. Have you ever found that those who are sincerely confident and secure in themselves rarely resort to humiliating others? They don't need to. True strength is quiet, solid, and anchored. It uplifts rather than rips down. Now let's bring in some timeless wisdom to ground this understanding. Marcus Aurelius, one of the best Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside occurrences. Recognize this idea, and you will find strength in the context of humiliation. This is a game share. You cannot always control what others say or do. People will lash out, project their concerns, and attempt to antagonize you, but their behaviors don't have to dictate your feelings or your response. The most crucial truth you'll learn today is that humiliation only has power if you give it. When someone seeks to insult you, they are handing you a decision. Do you allow their statements to define your worth, or do you view their conduct for what it is, a representation of their internal difficulties, not your value? The Stoics taught us that while we cannot alter external events, we may master our internal universe. How you view the scenario, how you digest it, and how you respond, these are totally within your control, and in that control resides your power. So the next time someone tries to humiliate you, Take a deep breath and remember this: their actions says everything about them and nothing about you. Your response, however, suggests anything about your strength, your character, and your capacity to command respect. The calm stare approach. Let's take you're at a family supper, surrounded by familiar faces, when someone makes a nasty comment intended directly at you. It's a subtle comment, but you know it's supposed to harm you. The eyes in the room flash in your direction, waiting for your response. Immediately, you have an option. You can engage in the verbal sparring shoot back with a smart counterattack. Or, and this is where the power lies, you can remain calm, unfazed, and hold their gaze. This is the foundation of the relaxed gaze approach. It may look basic, even little, nevertheless, its impact is strong. When someone attempts to undermine you, often the initial instinct is to reply promptly, to defend yourself, to justify your behavior, to fight back. But in doing so, you give them control over you. They've succeeded in luring you into their game. But here's the concealed. Body language often talks louder than words. Your stance, your expression, and your eye contact can communicate volumes without you uttering a single word. When someone insults or humiliates you, instead of replying with anger or shame, maintain their gaze calmly and steadily. Don't fidget, don't break eye contact, and don't flinch away. Stand tall in the presence of their try to diminish you. Why does this work? It's about control. Via sustaining a cool and unflinching glance, you send a message that their remarks do not affect you. You're not rattled, you're not intimidated. Your silence, mixed with a constant strength in your eyes, communicates something significantly more powerful than any strong response ever could. This method works because it mirrors the Stoic idea of apathy, the state of being untouched by external forces. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The bliss of your existence depends upon the quality of your ideas. When you remain composed and steadfast in the face of an effort to shame, you reaffirm your inner serenity and protect your emotional state from the exterior chaos of others' negativity." You're at a family gathering, the kind where everyone has their opinion, and the tension is constantly just underneath the surface. Your cousin, in a loud, offhand way, makes a comment meant to put you down, maybe even in front of the whole table. It's subtle enough to escape instant notice, but you know it's supposed to weaken you. Everyone turns to you, awaiting a reaction. Instead of clenching your fists, rolling your eyes, or snapping back, you do the unexpected. You look at them straight with calm eyes, no judgment, no anger. You don't grin, but you don't scowl either. You merely gaze at them, composed and serene. Their words hang in the air, but they do not harm you, the room uncertain on how to respond to your stoic calm falls silent. The energy transfers. The power dynamics are flipped. You've taken control of the moment. You have to remember that this approach doesn't just happen overnight. It's a skill that requires discipline and presence of mind. The next time you're in a scenario where someone seeks to embarrass you, try utilizing this approach, starting in low-stakes, non-confrontational circumstances, maybe with a coworker or in an informal social situation. Exercise holding a calm, steady look when someone speaks anything dismissive or critical. Over time, it will become second nature, and your confidence in repelling humiliation will develop. Recall, the peaceful look isn't about displaying no emotion at all. It's about managing your emotional condition so that others cannot alter it. It's about projecting inner strength that stays unshakable, no matter how others try to shake you. In doing so, restore your power, and the humiliation you were once subjected to is redirected back to the instigator. The repeat, the joke technique, the repeat, the comedy method is another option that may sound easy, yet it's highly successful when it comes to disarming someone who seeks to humiliate you with a joke. The concept is deceptively straightforward. When someone makes a joke at your expense, instead of getting upset or reacting defensively, ask them to repeat it. It can seem counterintuitive, right? Why would you attract extra attention to the insult? The power here resides in your capacity to changing the dynamic. When someone tries to humiliate you with a joke, they're often expecting to get a reaction. They desire to see you squirm, laugh awkwardly, or get defensive, but by politely asking them to repeat it, you not only neutralize the jest, but you also highlight the inappropriateness of their words. Believe about it when a person repeats a joke, specifically one that's aimed to offend or embarrass. It pushes them to confront the absurdity of their own words. Suddenly the humor lost its bite. It's no longer a clever comment that puts you on the defensive. It becomes an uncomfortably unpleasant moment. It shows their lack of social awareness. Let me offer an example. There was this one time when I was at a social gathering and a buddy felt it would be funny to relate an embarrassing story regarding me from years ago. They laughed and everyone joined in hopes to see me reply. It was one of those situations when the humor was at my cost, and I could sense the combined gaze of the room shifting onto me. But instead of looking ashamed or furious, I calmly said, "Hey, that's interesting. Could you repeat that for me?" "I'm not sure I heard you the first time." At first they hesitated. The room became a bit quieter and they repeated the story. But this time it didn't sound as hilarious. The comedy had vanished and the discomfort sank in. It was as if the room had moved focus, and instead of the laughing becoming focused at me, it was now on them. It was a little period, but it worked. Their attempt to humiliate me lost its potency because they had to repeat it. It felt forced and weird, and suddenly I was the one in control. This strategy works because it's a display of emotional composure. Stoicism teaches us to detach from from the judgments of others at moments of possible humiliation. We have the power to regulate how we respond. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action progresses action. What stands in the way becomes the way by asking someone to repeat their joke. We turn their attempt to embarrass us into an opportunity for us to exert our power over our emotions. We control how we feel about the situation, not the person creating the joke. This approach also shows the absurdity of the insult or the joke. The more you ask someone to repeat a remark that was meant to be humorous at your expense, the more the room begins to recognize the comedy for what it is: shallow, unneeded, and actually quite rude. The emphasis moves from you, the target, to the awkwardness of the predicament. Of course, you don't want to come appear as snarky or insulting. The purpose is not to exacerbate the situation, but to gently disperse it. The trick is in how you ask them to repeat it. Retain your tone neutral, your body language relaxed, and your expression composed. By doing so, you allow the other person's words to become their own downfall. They may find oneself pondering the humor totally, or at the very least feeling a little less empowered in the moment. Precisely as with the quiet gaze technique, the repeat the joke approach requires practice. Start with minor circumstances where the risks are lower. The next time someone cracks a joke at your expense, try calmly asking them to repeat it. See how it adjusts the power dynamic over time. You'll acquire confidence in using this strategy and find that it becomes a natural response redirection with a neutral question. Sometimes the greatest way to respond to an attempt at shame isn't to react at all. It's to divert the conversation entirely. This strategy, known as the redirection with a neutral question, is an effective method to shift the emphasis away from the attack and back onto something neutral or positive. This method operates by strategically introducing a completely unrelated topic, something so neutral and uncontroversial that the person seeking to embarrass you has no choice than to engage with it, or more often than not be left in an awkward silence. For example, let's say you're at a dinner party and someone decides to make a harsh remark about your appearance or your career. Instead of interacting with their negativity, try shifting the conversation with a simple inquiry. Like, "By the way, have you been to that new Italian eatery downtown? I've heard fantastic stuff about it." Suddenly, you've transformed the dynamic. The spotlight is no longer on you, and it forces the other person to either awkwardly keep pressing the same line of attack or simply join you in a new topic that has nothing to do with their triad shame. This approach is not about avoiding confrontation in a cowardly way. It's about choosing not to fuel negative or drama by introducing a neutral question. You take the discussion off the path. The other someone was trying to direct it toward a path that was supposed to shame you, and because your query is unrelated to the subject at hand, it forces the other individual to either continue making yourself uncomfortable or transfer gears. Totally, it's subtle yet wonderfully effective. Let me give you an example from a recent gathering. I attended. An old acquaintance of mine was being very snarky, making comments regarding a decision I had made a couple years ago. I could feel the tension growing, and I knew if I reacted, the situation would only intensify instead of taking the bait. I grinned and said, "Hey, has anyone gone to that new hiking trail up north? I heard the vistas are magnificent. We should schedule a trip sometime." The discourse completely altered. Everyone began discussing the hike, and the awkward moment passed without further comment about my personal life. The individual who had been making the rude remarks was now entirely disarmed and had nothing else to add. It wasn't even a deliberate power play. It was merely a calm, controlled response that refused to indulge negativity by introducing a neutral inquiry. I moved the attention off myself and the onslaught and directed the energy of the room towards anything more constructive. This technique is aligned with the Stoic concept of showing what you dedicate your energy to. Marcus Aurelius once stated, "Don't waste time on what you cannot control. Control your acts and responses and let go of everything else." In the context of humiliation, you cannot control the words or actions of others, but you do have the power to pick how you reply by diverting the conversation. You take control of the situation without participating in conflict or drama. It's a reflection of the Stoic concept that we are only responsible for our own answers, not for the behavior of others. Literally speaking, when you notice someone seeking to embarrass you or make a sharp remark, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? More often than not, the answer will be no. And that's when you can take action, shift the attention by introducing a neutral inquiry. It's an easy, that profound technique to de-escalate potential stress and retain control. Control your emotional condition. To practice this begins by seeking for chances throughout your everyday interactions. The next, whenever someone makes an embarrassing or unpleasant comment in a chat, see if you can calmly alter the emphasis by asking an absolutely unrelated question. You'll certainly find that this little but strong technique can alleviate tension in ways that leave you feeling calm, centered, and in control. The beauty of this technique is in its simplicity. You don't need to defend oneself, justify your behavior, or retaliate. You just move the energy of the discourse, and in doing so, you take back your power without confrontation. It's a strategy to keep your emotional peace intact and pick what you dedicate your emphasis to. Resisting to let negativity rule your day, walking away with confidence. There are moments when the most powerful thing you can do in response to humiliation is to simply walk away. It sounds easy, yet it can be one of the most empowering choices you make. Walking, leaving, isn't about running from confrontation or conceding defeat. It's about choosing to defend your tranquility, your dignity, and your sense of self-worth when you find yourself in a poisonous environment. Whether it's a group of individuals, a discourse, or a setting that's packed with negativity, it's vital to know when it's time to leave. You don't need to explain yourself or explain your conduct. The very act of walking away signals that you value oneself too much to stay in an atmosphere that undermines you. This can be immensely freeing and allows you to reclaim control over your emotional well-being when you leave a situation that is filled with embarrassment or disrespect. You take back your power. You don't allow others' words or acts to control your emotional state. You decide to move in your own route towards something more uplifting and affirming. I go back to a time when a close buddy was continually humiliating me in front of others. Their remarks were subtle but often meant to weaken my confidence. I stayed in the friendship for much too long, hoping that everything would improve, or that they would recognize how awful their behavior was. One day, during a social gathering, they made yet another stinging comment. It was the final straw. Instead than remaining and enduring more of the same, I discreetly excused myself and left. I didn't make a scene, didn't argue, and didn't try to explain myself. I just departed, and in doing so, I recovered my peace. Leaving that poisoned circumstance felt empowering. It wasn't about going away from the friendship forever, but about defending my own self-respect. It was a reminder that I am not compelled to stay in situations where my worth is diminished. Sometimes deciding to stroll away is the ultimate act of self-care and self-respect. It shows that you won't endure humiliation, not because you're terrified of confrontation, but because you recognize that you deserve better. This is where the wisdom of Stoic philosophy comes into play. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have authority over your mind, not outside events. Comprehend this and you will discover strength." The power to walk away is rooted on this very idea. It's about understanding that you have the authority to govern your environment. Carefully pick what you expose yourself to. Simply walking away from a harmful circumstance, you're not conceding defeat. You're choosing to protect your mental peace, protect your dignity, and uphold your self-worth. Walking away may seem, particularly if you've been conditioned to fight or endure in the face of humiliation. Nevertheless, as the Stoics taught us, genuine power comes from within, and sometimes the strongest action is the one that allows you to reclaim your inner serenity and free yourself from negative. It's not a weakness to walk away. It's a great confirmation of your right to preserve your emotions' well-being. So how can you begin to implement this into your own life? Pay attention to situations or persons that continually deplete your energy, make you feel insulted or embarrassed. You walking away is a conscious decision to protect your peace. Remind yourself that you always have the power to go away from any circumstance, regardless matter how invested you may feel in it. It can be hard to walk away when we feel a need to stay, but remind yourself that leaving isn't selfish. It's an act of self-preservation. You don't need to explain yourself or apologize for choosing your well-being over negativity. Let go of any sentiments of guilt or dread regarding others' judgment. You have every right to remove yourself from circumstances where you're not being treated with respect. Going away isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about choosing your peace versus becoming entangled in negativity. The genuine strength in walking away rests in your ability to detach from external judgment and protect your inner sense of worth. Exactly as Marcus Aurelius advised, by taking charge of your mind, you're reclaiming your power. And in doing so, you're choosing to protect your most valuable asset, your peace. Why this works? So why do these tactics work? They work because they fundamentally change the dynamics of respect. Not just how others treat you, but how you treat yourself in those moments when you answer with grace, calm, and dignity. You take control of the situation, not by altering the other person, but by modifying your reaction. This is where the genuine power resides. Stoicism teaches us a key lesson. We cannot control other individuals or their behavior, but we have full authority over how we choose to react. As Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside occurrences. Comprehend this, and you will find strength." The key here is not attempting to force people to respect us or change their behavior. That's a tiring and ultimately useless attempt. Instead, true strength comes from managing our actions and reactions. When we respond to shame with composure, calm, and clear limits, we do more than only protect ourselves from the acute discomfort. We send a powerful message. We refuse to let anyone else's negativity dictate how we feel. about ourselves, this approach doesn't only deflect the embarrassment that re-establishes the balance of respect, it alters the power dynamics not by engaging the offender directly, but by using the higher road, or the road of self-control and inner strength. In doing so, we empower ourselves to handle even the most unpleasant moments with elegance. These tactics aren't just about surviving humiliation, they're about prospering in spite of it. Each technique is a technique for keeping your dignity, regaining your power, and developing resilience in the face of adversity. Ultimately, this thinking coincides with the principle of focusing on what we can govern ourselves. We stop relying on people to confirm our worth, and instead we find that worth within. By mastering your reactions, you not only safeguard oneself against injury, but you also create a deep, unwavering regard for yourself that external pressures cannot tarnish. Let's briefly recap the main lessons we've learned today. First, shame only has power over you if you let it. Your response answer is the one thing you can absolutely control when you stand your ground. Answer with composure and choose not to give in to the negativity. You take away its power. Your calm, collected answer is the ultimate why you don't need to fight fire using fire. Instead, you ascend above with grace and dignity. By practicing these techniques, you gain the strength to deflect shame and assert control over your own emotional world. Always remember that respect isn't begged for, it's earned by how you carry yourself. The way you approach difficult situations speaks louder than any words ever could. Let today be the day you cease giving others influence over your emotions and taking back your dignity. This isn't simply about handling humiliation, it's about coming into your power and claiming your worth. I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment of humiliation? And how did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments. Your tale might just inspire someone else to restore their dignity. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other films on this channel to keep learning and empowering yourself. The best version of yourself is waiting, and the adventure starts now.